Good morning. My name is Kim Chappell. I'm a member of the Worship Associates team here, and it's my pleasure to welcome all of you to this virtual sacred space where we continue to draw closer to the Spirit, open wide the circle of justice, and cultivate warm community, even as we maintain spatial distance from one another. UUCL, as we like to refer to ourselves, is a beloved community in process. This means that we commit ourselves to being open and affirming, even as we recognize that we're not perfect at it. We're a beloved community in process, which means that we are striving to live lives in words and deeds that affirm Black Lives Matter. It means that we have affirmed for decades that love is divine, no matter whom you love or marry. And it means that we are striving to affirm in practice that all ways of knowing and expressing gender are sacred. It also means that we hold space for many ways of experiencing sacred truth. So, we welcome you, whether you hold faith in God, nature, community, science, or all of the above deep in your heart, or whether you're not quite so sure what you believe. You are welcome here. You are welcome to journey and grow with us as we seek to make our lives and our world more full of both passion as well as compassion. We also send a warm welcome to anyone new here. Thank you for taking the brave step of checking us out. There are many ways to get involved here, and we hope you'll subscribe to our newsletter, the UUCL LOVEletter, which appears weekly, to find out more. We also invite you to join a special breakout room after the service if you have questions you would like to ask about Unitarian Universalism or about this congregation. I now invite us all to enter into a sacred time by lighting our chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist values. When our days turn cold and the light dims, may we take hold of the hands reaching out and let them lead us to the comforting. When repression and indignity rise, may we kindle the lamp of justice together. When exhaustion seeps into our bones, may we let the soft light lead us to rest. And when joy sneaks in and surprises us with grace, may we stop for just one sacred moment and celebrate.
Thank you, Kim. Come on in into this space. I welcome you here too. I'm Reverend Israel. I use he, him for pronouns, and I'm the minister of this church. I invite you all to take a moment now to enter into this virtual space of worship where we turn our attention to the things that matter to us. Come on in. And let's think of today as a holy, sacred hour of Sabbath. To practice the idea of Sabbath is to stop and be still and find the time and the space to notice how things truly are in the world. Sabbath tells us that there's nothing that we need to create or do or make, but rather we just stop and we are, and we marvel at the beauty and the miracle that it means to be alive the beauty and the miracle of the world as it is, that it even exists. So for this hour, let's all in this space try to just pause. In this time of COVID social distancing known as the Great Pause by some. Let's try to just pause and be with each other. To know that we are part of creation, part of a larger whole, part of a bright, burning, eternal flame that cradles all of us with its brilliance and warmth. So notice that flame today. Be that flame, and let that flame guide you. So I invite you, if you wish, to light a candle for yourself and to stop and to listen for that still, small voice that is deep inside all of us, singing. And we listen to it now in song.
Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing. In dark and rain, sorrow and pain, still you remain, singing. Calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years, singing. Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing. In dark and rain, sorrow and pain, still you remain, singing. Calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years, singing.
So today we're going to reflect and hear some stories about some different celebrations, ritual celebrations that use light during the darkest time of year. And we reflect on the fact that many cultures have used light during the darkest time of the year. Use light as a reminder to reflect upon stillness and peace. Fire, I've told you that I like fire, but I think fire is pretty incredible. Fire, light, is the outward expression of the potential energy that's in all matter. Waiting, sitting there, waiting to come into being. In fact, I don't know, even as an adult, I feel like fire is sort of like magic. There one moment, gone the next. Not there one moment, and there the next. In fact, it's almost like a outward expression of the idea of divine immanence. And what do I mean by that? That fire helps us to see that the sacred divine presence is everywhere, in all things, waiting to come into our sights if we could only notice it. And so fire and light have been used to cultivate joy and hope for many centuries across many different cultures in the world when the earth becomes dark and cold. And I think that perhaps we need that more than ever this year. So today we're going to hear from some folks about their relationships to these ritual practices that come from a couple of different traditions. We're going to hear about the tradition of Advent, the ritual of celebrating Advent from the Christian tradition, and about Hanukkah from the Jewish tradition, because those are two observances that are going on right now. So first we will hear from Steve Jones, who will tell us about Advent and his relationship to that.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to now light my Advent wreath, and I'm going to be lighting 3 candles in the wreath because today is the 3rd Sunday in the season of Advent in the Christian church year. The word Advent comes from the Latin word meaning coming. Christians light the Advent wreath to prepare for the celebration of the birth of Jesus. Advent was actually not celebrated by the earliest Christians and didn't become part of the Christian tradition until the 6th century. But since then, Christians throughout the world have been lighting the wreath for each of the 4 Sundays of the Advent season in the church year. The Advent wreath represents light shining in the darkness, that the birth of Jesus gives hope and light into a sinful world. That because Jesus died for our sins, we may have eternal life through our faith in the resurrected Jesus as Lord and Savior. This is traditional Christian theology. For many years as a Christian minister, I lit the Advent wreath during worship services this time of year, believing this. But now, as a Unitarian Universalist, though I still light the wreath and still celebrate Advent, it has taken on a new meaning for me. For me, the Advent wreath now is a call to remind ourselves how the moral, ethical, spiritual teachings and parables of Jesus, the human Jesus, not the Christ of mythology, can still bring hope and healing into our broken world, can still help us to be more fully human, can still help us to love one another, and can still help us to bring us closer to becoming the beloved community we are meant to be.
morning, everybody, and happy Hanukkah. Hanukkah is from the Jewish tradition, and that is the faith tradition that I was raised in. And this morning, I'm going to be lighting my childhood menorah. I still carry out a lot of these traditions in my interfaith home. And if any of my young friends are watching, I'm going to start by lighting the shamus or the helper candle, and then light 4 candles for the 4 nights of Hanukkah. And my young friends also know that I'm not very good with lighting things. So everybody think good thoughts for me, and I'm going to do the best I can. Three lights, and tonight is the 4th night of Hanukkah. And Joanna is going to read the blessings for us in English. And Joanna has an electric menorah with her. Mine is a traditional menorah.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. I am going to read some blessings from Joanna Lubkin. She is a UU minister of Jewish background. Blessed are you, source of all, who brings moments of holiness to our lives through the ritual of lighting the Hanukkah lights. Blessed are you, source of all, who brings our attention to miracles from ages past to this very moment. Blessed are you, source of all, who has given us life, sustained us, and brought us to this very moment. Amen.
We will now share a beautiful reflection on Hanukkah written by our own Reverend Israel. This evening marks the beginning of the 4th night of the Jewish festival of Hanukkah. Hanukkah is a celebration of a miraculous light that is said to have lasted 8 days when it should have only lasted 1. Whether or not you believe this actually happened, there is a powerful truth to be discovered in the celebration of Hanukkah.
Hanukkah is a festival that asks those who celebrate to slow down and reflect on the presence of mystery and miracle in everyday life. How often do you stop to notice the miracle of your breath? Yet there it is, always flowing in and out, whether we notice it or not.
The word Hanukkah also means dedication, and it refers to the rededication of the temple after its desecration. But what if we thought of celebrating Hanukkah as a way to dedicate ourselves as living, breathing miracles? What if Hanukkah were a reminder of the living, breathing temple of divine presence that dwells in each of our hearts?
And lastly, Hanukkah refers specifically to the dedication, not just of the temple, but of the temple lamp, a light that is literally meant to be an embodied reminder of the presence of the sacred in our midst, much like our UU chalice. On this Hanukkah, may we all be reminded that a light shines inside each of our hearts with an eternity of ways to kindle it.
A lamp glows inside our hearts, so let us kindle it with our joy. Let us kindle it with our tears. Let us kindle it with love. Then let us bring our lamp out into the streets so that all who have forgotten that miracles are around us will remember to rejoice and celebrate the miracle that is life.
And so here in this season of reflecting on light and dark and hope and waiting, we reflect on our own lives and everything that we bring with us today to this space, especially during this time of year that is so difficult for so many people. And of course, even more so, we know, this year. And even despite everything going on in our world, all of the loss, some will still find joy in this season. Perhaps some of you. And most of us, perhaps, will come with a mixture of all of those things on our hearts. And so we bring them into this space. And we know that this space, I hope, can become a well of sustenance for us, where we can bring all of those things in our hearts, bring them to our well, and find comfort and healing and love. And here, my friends, is all that we are and bring to this community. And if you could feel this right now as I hold it, you would feel how heavy it has become. With the heaviness of burdens and the heaviness and the gravity of importance, even that your joys bring. And so I hold you all here in this cleansing water, this cleansing well that we share together. And I look deep into the well, and I know that it goes far, far deeper than this bowl, this shallow bowl appears to go. For as I look into this well, I notice that eternity exists in the present moment. I remember that everything that has ever happened has led us to this very moment and brought us here to this, our present. In everything, everyone who will ever be, and everything that you will be, goes forth from this very moment. Our ancestors and the children of future generations are here in this very moment, held in this well, holding us all in a loving embrace. Sharing their determination and their courage and their hopes and visions for the future with us right now in this eternal present moment. May this well be the water that sustains us as we go through our journey together and for all people. We sing now and hear together Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto
Our weekly offering is a spiritual practice where we give in order to say yes to our values. We take up an offering to say yes to the values of this progressive faith community. Yes to LGBTQ rights. Yes to Black and Brown lives. Yes to religious freedom. Yes to our planet. And yes to democracy. This month, we share half of our offering with Power Packs Project, a weekend nutritional program for children who are at risk of going hungry when the school lunch program is not available. The physical reminder of the plate in front of us is not present over Zoom, but the need to say yes to our values is now more important than ever. You can say yes to our values by texting the amount of your donation to 855-927-3685. You can also give via the Contribute tab on the homepage of our website at uuclonline.org, or by mailing a check to 538 West Chestnut Street, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, 17603. The offering will now be gratefully received.
So it is the holiday season, in case you haven't noticed. And this is a season of complex truths, if there was any, for so many. Some, I'm sure, are excited. Some are excited to take their 1-year-old out to go for a walk and see all of the lights on the street, on trees, and on homes at the darkest time of year. Some are disappointed that they won't get to see family this year. Some are dealing with loneliness and sadness. Some are mourning the loss of never having a holiday season that truly was meaningful to them to begin with. Some want to run away from this time of year. Run away to the second week in January where it's all behind us. Some desperately want this year to be normal, just like it always has been. But we know that this year will not be normal. So how can any of us celebrate a season of light and hope and miracles this year? how can we celebrate this year? When the daily toll of people lost to the coronavirus reminds us not of the miracle of life, but of the fragility of life every day. When so many people are seeing their light go out every day. It's difficult to fathom the amount of people that we are losing every day right now. We may know that death has always been a part of life, that people die every day. But the amount of people dying every day who did not need to, is difficult to fathom. Such a loss on such a scale is almost too much to process for us. And so maybe we take refuge in detaching a little bit from what's going on and trying to go about our lives like everything is normal. In fact, I remember the day after my dad died, when I was 11 years old, I went to school the next day because I wanted to feel like everything was normal. But of course, it never would be again. And it probably never will be for us. If all of this is overwhelming, that is normal. We are living through something incredible and unprecedented for most of us. It's normal to need to detach a little bit, to need to take care of yourself a little bit, to pause a little bit. We're all in the midst of processing some immense grief. And like any grief that must be processed, it may be long and complex and different for all of you, for all of us. I'm feeling from so many people that they feel less productive or distracted. Are you feeling that way? If you are, it's okay. Of course you might be feeling that way. Are you feeling sadness? Or are you feeling angry that so many people have died? Deaths that could have been prevented. And I just want to say to you that it is okay. Feel angry if you need to. Even let there be rage inside of yourself for this situation that we are in. Do you feel the need to protect yourself and your loved ones? I know that I do. A couple of weeks ago, a contractor came to my house to fix our broken dishwasher, and the person refused to put on a mask. And I'll tell you, it is my job to feel empathy for others, to experience empathy with others and be with them. But in that moment, I could not summon my empathy for that person. And I told them flat out that they could not come in my house unless they wore a mask. And I did not engage them in conversation or trying to understand where they were coming from, because I felt an existential threat to myself and my family. If you're feeling that way sometimes these days, it is okay. It is normal when we are experiencing an existential threat to our lives every day. And all of this is happening at a time of holidays and Christmas and solstice and Hanukkah, when society tells us to be still and think about peace and joy and miracles. And so no wonder there is something that is not adding up in your head when you think that you should be feeling one way at this time of year and it is completely off. These deaths do not have to make sense. They do not have to make sense. So where is the hope that we find in all of this? Where is the hope that we find for ourselves? We want to make sense of a situation, but even when there isn't any, we want to think sometimes that everything may happen for a reason. And I know that everything does not happen for a reason, but perhaps we can find some meaning and some hope in something that may seem meaningless. So what can we do? The first thing we can do is to keep on going. Keep on wearing our masks, knowing that Advent might be a little bit longer this year. It might be longer than 4 weeks, or that the sun might take a little longer to return after this winter solstice. But we can recognize that there is hope in this moment. And it is this. It is in the lesson of interdependence that we have in this moment. That this moment shows us how much we are all connected to one another and how much we need each other. And that, yes, this moment is an opportunity for stillness. An opportunity for us to take care of ourselves. To see this time as a time of Sabbath. To stop and pause and find our own stillness and moments of spiritual deepening and nourishment for ourselves. To know that it is okay to do nothing. And what do I mean by that? That we care for each other and ourselves by doing nothing, by staying home right now. And it may be counterintuitive to say that we care for ourselves by doing nothing. We may want to do something. But we can recognize our interdependence by doing nothing right now. And we can also recognize the immensity of these losses by taking the time that we need to pause. And perhaps we will remember in all of this that death has always been a constant companion of life. And that people have always come together around death to support each other. Or maybe we will simply just pause to remember and experience the eternity that is always in this present moment. Remember the flame that reminds us of the potential eternal energy that exists in everything, in all of us. The stardust in all of us. I don't know. I really don't know if that is sufficient hope for us at this moment. But I do know that this season of light, we need to reflect on fire and light. To remember that fire contains the multitude of mystery and wonder that is life. Maybe that is all the hope that we can find this year. That this time of forced stillness will be like a contemplative darkness, like coming from a womb that will eventually open up to a bright flame that allows us to see how things truly are. This, that life is a precious and precarious gift. A brief flash of light that can be taken at any time. But that our light is part of a greater flame that has been burning since the beginning of time. And then we each carry for a brief time that flame and that light that was passed on to us and that must eventually be passed on to others. May we let it shine in each of us. And never let it go out. And because in times like these, the only thing that I can think sometimes to do is to light a candle. I light this candle for $300,000. May we each carry the light and never let it go out. I give us this song now.
Light one candle for the Maccabee children, with thanks that the light didn't die. Light one candle for the pain they endured, when their right to exist was denied. Light one candle for the terrible sacrifice of justice and freedom demand. But light one candle for the wisdom to know when high up